I drove those rafts for 3 years. Growing up, Tom Sawyer Island was my favorite attraction at Disney World. So when I got the opportunity to come here, work here, drive those rafts, that really was a dream come true. It was my favorite place to work when I was at Disney. Now though, Tom Sawyer Island and these entire rivers of America, they're closing forever. So join me for one last trip on my home attraction at Walt Disney World, Tom Sawyer Island.
Disney's Tom Sawyer Island might be the original immersive themed land. Opened here at Walt Disney World in 1973, it's based on Mark Twain's The Adventures of Tom Sawyer. Now, the sequel to that book, Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, is considered by many critics as the great American novel. But the references on the island here are from Mark Twain's original work. Now let's get one thing out of the way here. These are free-floating rafts. They're not on rails. They're under the complete independent control of your raft driver. Driving these into the island side takes a little bit of work. You have to kind of back into it, but it's great training for learning how to parallel park a car. But not all new raft drivers come with great parallel parking skills, so it takes a little while to get a hang of doing this properly. So I always have great thanks for the drivers on Tom Sawyer Island, and I hope that you will too. Here's a closer look at the controls that the drivers do have in operating the Tom Sawyer Island raft. You'll see a tiller there in the back tied off. That's the only way you control direction on it. And if you look at that little cubby in there, we'll zoom into that. That has a throttle that controls whether you're going forward or backward or how much speed. And that's it. That's the entirety of the interface here. No rails, no computer. It's just up to you to drive. Now our ride is here, so let's take a trip over to Tom Sawyer Island across the rivers of America. Remember, these rafts are the only way to or from the island. Let's watch your step while you're stepping up onto the raft. With no one on the raft yet, it's sitting high up on the water. But as more people board, that raft's gonna just lower a little bit into the water, and you're gonna have to step down if you're one of the last people on the raft. But for right now, as I take my last trip onto the island, let's just stand here and enjoy the trip across the rivers of America to Tom Sawyer Island. I think the view from a Tom Sawyer Island raft is the best anywhere at Disney. It looks so serene, but if you're in the back there doing the work, like I said, it can get a little bit tricky. We had 4 rafts back in my day, each with a slightly different turning radius and a slightly different power to weight ratio, and that's unloaded. You put a load of guests on there, every weight distribution is different each time, which made it a little bit tricky to learn how to adapt to all of that and get across the river reliably and as quickly as possible, because the more cycles you can do, the higher your capacity, the shorter the wait. As our capable raft driver pulls into Tom's Landing, let's take a careful step off the raft here and follow the crowd up around the corner as we take our first steps onto Tom Sawyer Island. If you'd like, you could stop and read our welcome here from Tom Sawyer before we head around the corner to our first attraction on the island. This is one of 3 caves on the island, and it was back in my day known as the Magnetic Mystery Mine, but now it's called Old Scratch Mystery Mine. These caves are just absolutely delightful places to explore. See the introduction there. Nice respite from the Florida sun. Great rock work by Walt Disney Imagineering. Now this one isn't particularly tied to anything in the Tom Sawyer books, but it is a classic funhouse attraction inside here, where the floors start to gradually change in incline. Then all of a sudden you're seeing a whole bunch of just fun physical illusions, things like water running uphill. Everyone's having a little trouble walking around. Funhouses might be the original theme park attraction. It's great to see this implemented here at Disney. As we turn the corner, the floor levels out again, things get back to normal, and we just head up the mine shaft towards the exit. At the exit, we discover, well, we haven't come very far. We've basically made a U-turn here. That's the back of Tom's Landing, where we came onto the island. So just a couple of steps to your right, and we're going to be right back where we started, and we're going to head back up those steps again. This time, though, we're not going to make a right into the mine, but we're going to head forward to that windmill. Now up ahead to your left, you're going to see another landing. There are actually two landings that we could ferry guests to and from Tom Sawyer Island. So in peak operation, we could have 4 rafts rotating, getting people on or off the island. Very rarely used anymore. Still, it's a lovely place to sit, relax, and watch the river traffic go by. Next, we're going to head up the steps here and see inside this windmill, which is one of the various installations for our enjoyment here on Tom Sawyer Island. And of course, multiple ways to get around the island and its various attractions as well. A lot of Disney fans talk about the distinctive smell on Pirates of the Caribbean, that smell of the water. For me, it's the smell inside these buildings on Tom Sawyer Island, that old kind of sawdust smell. That's the one that just really triggers my nostalgia for my time working at Disney and being a kid falling in love with Disney for the first time. Now, there's supposed to be a little creek flowing through here, but the water pump is not operational on Tom Sawyer Island anymore. Probably won't be repaired before the island is closed. But I just wanted to point that out as really one of the few missing features on the island these days. As we head around the auxiliary boat dock again, I want to talk about the second cave that's on Tom Sawyer Island. In my day, it was known as Injun Joe's Cave. It's no longer known by that name, as a little warning there for wildlife in the area you see throughout the Walt Disney World Resort. Yes, I have seen alligators on the boat dock here. But anyway, Disney has moved away from that pejorative term for indigenous people. Now, it's interesting, if my memory serves correct, in the book, neither Twain nor the character ever really explain what Joe's ancestry was. It's just the people of the town kind of considered him an other and strange, so they slapped that pejorative term on him, and everyone just accepted it. Coming up on the right, you're going to see what looks like a wooden door. In the book, Tom and Becky Thatcher get lost in this cave for days at a time, and when they're finally brought out, Judge Thatcher decides to put up a wooden door on the entrance to the cave to keep any kids from getting lost there again. But what he doesn't know, but Tom does, is that Joe was actually in that cave as well. He'd come in looking for Tom because he's trying to track down a treasure. And with that wooden door on there, Joe was trapped in that cave, presumably to starve to death. You can see kind of the spooky visages that Walt Disney Imagineering has created with their wonderful rock work in this particular cave. Again, trying to elicit the fear, even the terror that Becky and Tom and presumably even Joe felt while trapped in this very confusing cave in The Adventures of Tom Sawyer. Here's another great effect in the cave, this illusion of a bottomless chasm that we have to walk over as we explore all of the hidden mysteries within, again, this currently unnamed cave on Tom Sawyer Island. And after that, we turn the corner, barely lit here by one of these lanterns in the cave, and enter the maze section of the cave, where we've actually got some options to go around these columns in the middle, again trying to elicit that feeling of being disoriented and lost in the cave that Tom and Becky felt. Eventually, though, we make our way out of the cave and we discover that we're on the other side of Tom Sawyer Island, the Liberty Square side. You see the Haunted Mansion there across the river. We could turn right, but no, this time we're going to go left and head farther north up the island. And we see the Ascension Bridge that will take us to the other part of Tom Sawyer Island, which is where the fort is. But first, let's just take a quick peek around the corner to see how close we actually were to the entrance of the former Injun Joe's Cave. Right next to some water fountains here, trash cans, plenty of those that you'll find around the island. But let's head up over to the Suspension Bridge. Now, back in my day when they still had the canoes at Walt Disney World, one of the canoers' favorite jokes was to ask people what the connection was between Tom Sawyer Island and the fort, which at that time was called Fort Sam Clemens. And inevitably somebody would point out that Mark Twain was the pen name of Sam Clemens, and he wrote Tom Sawyer. And then the canoer would just look at that person like they were an idiot and say, "No, the connection's a bridge." Anyway, I love dad jokes at Disney attractions. Today, the fort is known as Fort Langhorn, which again, middle name of Samuel Langhorn Clemens. This is a wonderfully detailed installation here. You can just look around, again, that great sawdust smell. There are some restrooms here. There used to be a little snack stand here, but there are lots of working animatronics that you can look at, the blacksmith and the guardhouse. Let's just take a moment to look around and enjoy Fort Langhorn at Tom Sawyer Island. Next to the guardhouse, there's this little side entrance to the fort here. And if you take that and go down the path, it's a wonderful view of Big Thunder Mountain with that river trestle. Stop for a moment, maybe we can see a train come by. Let's head back into the fort now and explore what's available up on that second deck of Fort Langhorn. Now, the fort's been closed for years at my home park at Disneyland in California, and stop for a little game of checkers if you want to. But we're going to head upstairs to the Rifle Roost and see what we can do up there. Again, we've got some tricky twisting steps here, which is wonderful if you're a little kid and you need to burn off some energy. Just run up and down these things a few times, and that'll get you going. All the way up here, and yes, we've got the Rifle Roost. Not all of them still have rifles in them, but a few of them still do. And we've got these cannons, so use cotton when shooting. You don't want to burn out your eardrums. Let's head on up here and squeeze off a few rounds on this rifle. I loved this place as a kid because this was something that left a lot to my imagination. I could fill in the gaps. I mean, munitions, cannons, guns, places to climb and run and walk around and just imagine what's out there and what you could be doing back in this part of American history. It's just really something that I like to see in attractions, ones that leave you a little bit to imagine, to fill in the gaps on your own rather than just bombarding you with narrative the entire time. This is really about placemaking and finding your space within that place and creating a character for yourself, really, if you want to. I love the Tom Sawyer books. I loved Mark Twain. Studied it in college, loved it when I was a kid. So this was especially important to me, and the fact that I got to work here as an attraction was just wonderful. Now, I didn't get to walk the island that much working. Most of my time was driving the rafts. But every now and then when I got the opportunity to come around here, do a little crowd control on the island, I just love seeing kids discover this island the way that I did, as a place to let your imagination run wild, as you got to let your legs and body run around for a little bit as well, which was great after being cooped up in queues there for a while. And if you need relief, again, as I mentioned, there are restrooms in the fort. There used to be a little ice cream stand here as well, a popsicle stand. We're going to see the last cave here on the island, the escape tunnel from Fort Clemens. Watch your step. Now, this one gets a little bit claustrophobic. This one is... it was tough for me as a kid. I can't imagine coming in here as a larger sized adult. You might want to skip this one. But I love the fact that this was so tight and confined and really made you feel like you're going in an escape tunnel to get out of the brig, get out of the jail, get out of the fort that you were being kept in as a river pirate or whatever. Again, really great rock work that was done here, and then occasionally people were doing things that we needed to kick them out of the place for when we were doing crowd control over here, but we're not going to talk about that. Come out here, and we are now outside of the fort. We are right on the banks of the rivers of America on the Liberty Square side, and we're going to head back down this lovely path back to the suspension bridge, one last look at the fort here, and head our way back towards the main part of Tom Sawyer Island.
This is the entrance, that's the exit.
Now, if you've gotten turned around, we are actually headed back towards the exit of the former Injun Joe's Cave, which will be up on our right. Remember when we came out, we saw the Haunted Mansion right there that we see to our left right now? Well, now we're going to take the other option. If we had gone right then when we came out of the cave, that would have led us to the Barrel Bridge, which is one of the fun attractions here. Now, there's a bypass if you don't want to go on the Barrel Bridge. The key here is aim for the tops of the barrels and just commit. Go fast. Don't mess around, otherwise you are going to be bouncing up and down forever. Like I said, just pause for the people ahead of you to get going. Stay on the tops, commit, go quickly, and hope for the best. It is a fun little bouncy attraction. Again, an old school kind of fun house attraction that you can enjoy here on Tom Sawyer Island, one of the old school attractions at Walt Disney World. Now, unfortunately, this part of the island just breaks my heart. This is Aunt Polly's, which used to be a restaurant on Tom Sawyer Island, and now we see that the only refreshment that's available, well, it's a couple of vending machines. Used to be those windows up there were open. They had peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. I know lots of people requested lemonade. They didn't have it when I worked there, but I think they added it later. The menu here got more aggressive and a little simpler over the years, but definitely it was better than a couple of vending machines. Still, it's a great place to sit and watch what's going on. Great view of the Liberty Bell riverboat. Coming around, here's one more dock. This is not a public dock, but this is the dock where maintenance and those crews would bring a little John boat over. But now we've got what might be the most famous scene from the Adventures of Tom Sawyer, which is the whitewashed fence. There used to be a bucket of whitewash there, but it's gone now. But this is the one where Tom conned everyone in town into whitewashing the fence for him in the book. And we see it's half done now, but it's just a little callback to the book like that. Walking around the corner here, we're going to head our way up the hill on Tom Sawyer Island. Now it's called Hickory Switch Hill. Back in my day, it was called Cardiff Hill, and actually led to one of the best interactions I had with a guest on the island, where I saw two young women who were just besides themselves, kind of crying and laughing, pointing at the sign. I ended up taking a picture of them next to the sign. They explained they were from Cardiff in the UK and couldn't believe they'd seen a reference to their hometown at Walt Disney World. So if those ladies are ever watching this, I remember taking your picture on Tom Sawyer Island. I hope you still have it. I hope you had a great time. Up at the top here, there's some picnic tables where if you want to come, this is one of the best places to come enjoy a picnic at Walt Disney World. I'll tell you about that. But then over to the side here, we've got a playground that was actually added after my day here. This is Tom and Huck's scavenger fort. And as the name implies, this is made with all the stuff that Tom and Huck scavenged off the island, from shipwrecks or whatever else, just kind of floated up on the shore on this island supposedly in the middle of the Mississippi River. We've got some tunnels. We've got some things to climb on up here. So this is just another little fun play area. Back in my day, there was a tilting rock that nobody could ever get to tilt unless you were at least 200 pounds, and some stuff that just kind of didn't really look like the play equipment it was meant to be. So Disney came in, redesigned this, gave us this scavenger fort that just looks like a fun place that a couple of little kids would put together. I don't know, I'm not jumping down that one. But we'll come over to the side here and just see one little last element on the scavenger fort here, which is the steering wheel, the ship's wheel. Give that a little turn. Take a look at the pirate flag that they've put up above the sail that they scavenged for this. And we will continue on our way at the top of Tom Sawyer Island, up at the top of the hill, which I'm going to just keep calling Cardiff Hill because that's the way I remember it. Okay, again, another thing that is closed right here. Honestly, we are on top of the caves right now. We're on top of the mystery mine. We'll keep walking, and then eventually on the other side of this water element that's not running right now would be the former Injun Joe's cave. So this is just the way that Disney has disguised attractions within attractions at the Walt Disney World Resort. They built those two wonderful caves and then just piled this hill right on top of it. So you've got another just kind of relaxation space. This is, again, another place where kids can just run around, let their imaginations go wild, burn off some steam, and spend some time in nature, even if it is kind of fake nature. But, yeah, these are real trees. This is, there's real dirt up here. Okay, the rocks are fake. But now we see that step that'll take you down towards over by the exit. There's the Haunted Mansion again, so to orient you a little bit. We're right above the exit of the former Injun Joe's cave. So let's head back across the former Cardiff Hill, back on down to river level on the island. Now, the only major element on the island that's not working is the water pump that powers that stream that was all dried up there at the top of Cardiff Hill. Also would have been pushing water out of this pond into this little aqueduct that would turn the wheel at the grist mill that we're going to see here at the bottom of the hill. Let's head on in. And again, this is another one of those great elements where that sawdust smell just hits me and brings me back. Now, of course, because the water isn't turning the wheel, none of the gears are running, so this animation is turned off right now. But we can still hear the owl in here and enjoy the sights and smells of the grist mill on Tom Sawyer Island. From there, it's just another short walk past the exit to the magnetic mystery mine that we saw, and this will take us back around to where we came onto the island. Tom's Landing is where we will pick up our ride back to the mainland. Again, there are restrooms here, water fountains, places to sit and wait for what should not be too long of a wait for our next ride back. This is it for me, so it's pretty bittersweet walking off the island here for the last time. But I just truly love this place, and I hope that Disney honors Tom's Landing somehow with the new Cars attractions that are coming over here. But I'm going to hop aboard, put my trust in one of my fellow raft drivers, and let's enjoy this last trip back across the rivers of America from Tom Sawyer Island back to Frontierland at Walt Disney World.
Thank you for joining me on this last trip to the island. And as you might know, this is all closing because they need to create some space to get to that new Villains Land that they are building beyond Big Thunder Mountain. And there is just no way to get to it and maintain the rivers of America. So they're paving this all over, and then they're going to replace it with a couple of Cars attractions. I hope that kids in a few years when that open fall in love with Cars attraction the way I did with Tom Sawyer Island. But for me, this is and always will be my home attraction. I'm happy that it remains in pretty much pristine condition at Tokyo Disneyland, and then with that pirate overlay at Disneyland in California. But I'm happy that I was able to be here and share this with you. For Theme Park Insider, I'm Robert Niles.